classical education is important too. So you can think of classical education as like the 300s BC, before Christ. And you can think of classical education with Plato and Aristotle. And then we do the shoulder-to-shoulder education, the yoking, where we learn leadership skills very soon, very early, even at 4. And that would be Hebraic education. So another difference is that classical education says that a child is an empty vessel, and you've got to pour in facts into that empty vessel until they can then later start to think. But they need to be filled with facts before they can start applying the information. But that means that you don't really teach your children or teach children critical thinking skills at a super young age. Whereas Hebraic education believes that you're so smart and you can learn those critical thinking skills early. So it's just a difference, but you should know at least a little bit about what the difference is. Okay, and finally, Greece, Aegean Sea, Mediterranean Sea, Athens, Sparta, Rhodes, Olympia, Crete, Patmos, and Corinth. Okay, so I want you to draw Italy, so the boot, and then I want you to draw little bitty dots, and then I want you to make a square here so you can make an island and call it Patmos. And that was the island that John, who wrote Revelation, was on. So I just want you to draw like a cave maybe and a little island, and maybe put a little stick figure in there for John to remember that he was in one of the islands there, Patmos, which is it's very near, it's one of the Greek islands. Okay? And then finally, for our cards for critical thinking skills this week, I want you to think about what the impact is of democracy. So do we have a democracy in the United States? We don't have a democracy. Democracy is where everyone is in a lottery or everyone has a say. We have a representative republic, which means we vote for people who then make the decisions for us. So, but it's more on the democracy side. So I want you to study what a democracy is and how they did it. Was a democracy for everyone? Go, oh no, it wasn't. Democracy was only for citizen men. So if you were a slave, you couldn't vote. If you were a woman, you couldn't vote. If you were someone who came and was even born in the country, you couldn't, and you weren't a citizen, like you weren't from, you didn't have your parents born in the country and grandparents born in the country. Nope, no vote for you either. So I want you to discuss that. I want you to discuss the ramifications of being in a democracy. Generally, the really great thing about a democracy, it means a little bitty government. So the government is just there for certain reasons, and the people have a huge say in it. So that would be a democracy where the people make all the decisions and the government itself stays little bitty. And then you can grow it. And if you want like socialism, that would be a massive government and the people just get little say, like that. And then communism is basically the whole thing is government and the people get almost no say. So think about the different types of government as well. All right, also in critical thinking, King Ahab. I really want you to talk about King Ahab and Jehoshaphat, and I want you to specifically focus on the dude with the horns. So read in your Bible until you figure out who the dude with props is. And so Jehoshaphat and Ahab, I'll just tell you real quick. Jehoshaphat and Ahab were going to go to war. And Jehoshaphat said, don't you think we should ask God if we should do this war thing or not? And Ahab's like, okay, send in some prophets. And so he sent in this guy and he had props. He was running around with iron horns on. He thought he was really cool. And Jehoshaphat was like, he's just saying good things about us, and he's got a lot of props. I'm not sure if I can trust him or not. Do you have anyone who really follows God? And Ahab's like, Ahab probably didn't sneeze. Sorry about that. Ahab was like, there's this one guy, but he never says anything nice about me, and I don't really want to call him, but I guess I'll call him, and his name is Micaiah. So Micaiah comes in, and Micaiah's like, yo, Ahab, it's not going to go well for you, man. And I see all of the people from Israel scattering all over the place with no leader. So it's not going to go well for you. And so Micaiah told him the truth and he got in trouble for it. Ahab was not pleased with that at all. And then guess what happened? Ahab believed him, and so he said, hey, Jehoshaphat, let's switch clothes this week. Well, you know, the garment, the robe that the king wore, everyone knew that was a king because that's his robe. But you can't see from far away his face. So what was he doing? He was setting up poor Jehoshaphat to look like him in case something happened. So Ahab wore Jehoshaphat's robes, which was kind of stinky of Ahab when you think about it. And this guy just shot a random arrow up into the air, and it struck Ahab, even though he was wearing Jehoshaphat's clothes. So if God says something, it's going to happen whether you change clothes with someone else or not. And so I want you to talk about that whole interaction, what you think of the guy with the horns, what you think of Ahab switching clothes, the whole thing in class. And then the third one is Amos, and we've already talked about him a little bit. He was a farmer who was a reluctant prophet, and he told the truth about people even though they didn't want to hear it. So I want you to talk about those aspects in class as well. All right? Thanks so much. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.